Episode_number_22. I think this child will die too. He said strange things. Salah tried to hold his hand. He raised his hand. Why are you thinking like this? It's not going to happen. Salah doesn't know who he wanted to comfort. But at this time, his condition was becoming more pitiful than Imam. Just send me to Pakistan. Imam did not say anything in response to his words. He repeated the same request once more. I will not send you to Islamabad, said Salah bluntly. I don't even want to go there. I will stay with Saeed Imami. I am sending it to you. Salah thought for a while and said, okay, send me to her. She was ready. If you can go away and be happy, that's fine. When will you come back? He remained silent. Returning. His long silence was summed up by Salah. It was not advice. It was a vow. It was not desire. It was helplessness. Imam listened to his words quietly and answered him quietly. She came back to Pakistan after a week and came out like a prisoner. She was going not to come back. Salah could feel her every move. But he still wanted to let her go. If the distance could heal her, then go away. But she would be fine. 4 months later, her child would be born. And he could. I wanted to survive, and I also had the courage. He knew that it was slowly ending. He started to enter into his existence due to the presence of Imam. His flight was in the evening. Once he took heart, it seemed to him that the house which he had built with great difficulty was about to collapse. Imam was also silent, but I don't know how many years. He felt calm. Happiness. He did not want to read it on the book of his face. Don't go. When the taxi came, she picked up her bag and brought it to the lounge. She was pulling her handbag and followed him. When Salah took her hand, he did not pull her hand against the expectation, but let it stay in his hand. For a long time, Salah held her hand only. Then he felt very sad. He gave his hand from the seizure. How did he touch the Imam? Even after he was released from prison, he was indecisive. After a few years, he once again came to take refuge at the house of actor Sabat Ali. And again he was given refuge. The actor and his wife were aware of his state of mind. Imam had a feeling for the child, as if she was coming out of a solitary confinement. But this quality was also time. There was no peace either. Salah called her every day when she received, and sometimes not. Sometimes she talked to him for a long time, sometimes briefly. I don't know how many days he spent like this. When you move from the tall trees on the bank of the canal, the sun shines through them, and the light falling on the water of the canal disappears because of the flood. It was only for a moment when he thought that he should go down into the water. Before she took a step, she was startled by a woman's voice. Ye Zara Gotha tu Bandwa de Mir Sate Batia. She was an 80-year-old Bohi woman. After picking dry wood for firewood, she was tied in a sheet-like cloth, stood up and took a step towards him. The bundle was so big that she was not sure that she would be able to lift it on her head, but with the help of Imam, she lifted the bundle comfortably. Just catch me by the rope of my goat. Imam got Tamil, but after a lot of struggle, he caught the rope of the goat. You are in the middle of nowhere. You have to go. You just have to go. Here, on the other side of the road. The old woman pointed to the road and told him. The Imam's goat's rope was pulled, and it quietly followed him. While crossing the road, Imam saw around 10 places that Imam called his home. He entered such a place after Kachchar Tamil, chasing a marmee. In one corner of the room he threw a pile of sackcloth on top of his head. A clay pot was on a hearth. There was a pleasant warmth, as if he were in a hot fire. Hey, why are you so open? How much did you have to walk for my sake? But you're a kid of the city. He pushed each bone post towards him a little distance. Even in me, there is hard work, but there is no hard work. After saying this, the Imam came forward. That boho woman laughed. I don't feel hard. You do. That's the difference. Imam started to see her face. She did not expect such a thing from the woman living in this place. What does a man do to you? He was suddenly shocked at the question of a marmee. What does it works as he tried to remember. What works? Mother then asked. Works out. He's grown up. Is he abroad? Asked the elderly woman. Yes, she said, looking at Sarg in the same way. Who has you here? Near the in-laws? No, then. I don't have anyone. The man left the house. He was shocked to see the face of a marmee. No, so what has happened? No. He shook his head blankly. Then who has come here? For comfort. He said involuntarily. There is no peace. She started to see the face of this woman. What is in the world is not what to find in the world. He looked at this woman with surprise. She spoke deeply. Then why in the world to be locked up, if there is only peace? So where are you? They are awesome. Your man did not say, come back. I used to say, now I don't. The poor thing is alone. Isn't it? He hesitated for a moment. Haas said in a low voice. Did you come here alone? As he regretted. Didn't you love me? He was silent for a moment. His voice was extremely soft. Don't mind. Raktata. The voice will become even fainter. Didn't they give bread? Ditata. He could hardly hear his own voice. You still saw it. You also made a deal against Allah with him. He could not speak. I don't think anyone will bring another woman. No, don't you love him? What was the question? Have you ever been in love? There was a flood in the eyes. What happened? He let the tears flow. What happened then? No, because it lit the fire. He did not find it or he missed it. He gave a look. And quote, I will not love you, and quote, Mama said rudely. Loved it, but couldn't wait. He didn't know how to clean it. He who loves waits. The answer came from the window. Do you come home? Because of this man? No, it was just too quiet for me. What was the restlessness? She will tell. With teary eyes. Mother is listening silently. Even though he was silent, he did not say anything. What was she doing by the canal? Very cowardly mother. She was not ready to die. That is. You are very brave. More brave than me. And quote. No. You are very weak. And quote. Imam said. You don't even care about your own children. You don't love him. His eyes started to rain once again. Who comes to touch home as you do? They die, they die, they die dearly. I don't want to love anyone anymore, Mom. Whoever I love is gone from me. Love again and again. I failed again and again. I can't go through this pain. She used to be a roti. Not you. But not even a human being can hide the pain so that he can be saved from the pain of getting rid of it. Well, Imam had no answer. In this place is my young son. He is always coming to me. The woman got up and went inside. After a few minutes, she pushed out a red model trolley, in which a thin man was lying on a bed and laughing. Be happy to receive your attention as it is. He was mentally and physically disabled. He is my only son. I have supported him for 28 years after Allah. 5 sons were born. After it was born, the husband said, and quote, I can't raise such a child. But how could I believe that I love him so much? And quote. The husband continued to understand for 2 years and did not believe in Allah. I loved my husband very much, but he also wanted children. Even then, Rashd Daru took all his property and let my son stay with me. He is with me. What would happen to me if I were to see her husband? There was a burden that was lifting from Imam's shoulders. There was a charm that was shining. Be patient with what Allah has given you and don't give yourself to anyone. Allah does not like it. My mother was very sad. Allah gave you grief. You lost your man. Did you remember that year? His eyes were blurred. Remember his love, his favors, and the care of his children, which he asked for in great supplications, and when the supplications were fulfilled, he did not value anything. Before she left, she came to meet the old woman once more and took some things from her. But despite her endless efforts, she did not find the woman. Jibril Iskander was the confidant of many secrets of his mother even before his birth. In the operation theater of the neurosurgery department of the American hospital, the doctor was sitting on the person whose brain was open. He belonged to the 2.5% of the population who had an IQ level of 150. And with it, he possessed extraordinary abilities. That operation was going on for 8 hours and I don't know how much longer. The actor leading the team of actors was considered one of the most capable surgeons in the world. It was not Salah Iskander's first meeting at the World Bank headquarters in Washington. He had been there dozens of times. But in his life, he never sat in a boring room with so much burden on his mind as he sat that day. He slept for 2 hours during the flight and spent the rest of the time going over the presentation and making changes and additions to what he was going to present at the meeting. Salah had to introduce a proposal to detoxify Sanpo's bill. And he had no illusions or misconceptions about his success or failure. He was present at the World Bank court 40 hours after his flight arrived in Washington. He once again slept in a hotel room without papers. Palander was looking forward to the presentation he had to distribute in Borough, Rome. But the question is, which court in the world would hear this case? Ibaka could not afford to go to the International Court of Justice and he worked at the World Bank. He was committed to keeping his professional affairs confidential. It was not even known that Peters Ibaka was fighting for life and death in a hospital in New York at that time. The atmosphere of this ancient Rome was not the same as he had always seen it. Seriousness is a part of every ballroom, but what he saw that day was cold. There was a kind of coldness in the face and eyes of the 7 people sitting there. Such a coldness was enough to make a person of weak nerves lose their senses. Impassive faces and easily mistaken views. Standing on legs around an oval table, 5 men and 2 women were experts in the work they were doing at that time. Many conscientious employees like World Bank President Iskander had been fired. At least before the beginning of this meeting, he thought about what Salah Iskander would do in front of him. Salah Iskander listened patiently to the opening words of the head of the meeting at the beginning of the meeting. He was criticizing Salah Iskander's incompetence, failures and shortcomings. Salah felt that the eyes of the rest of the People were focused on him. Before I answer any of them, I want to give a presentation about this project, because I think it answers a lot of questions and objections. This is what you guys are doing. Salah refused to answer any of Michael's accusations after his opening remarks. Salah showed one slide after another on the projector. These 7 people watched the presentation with impassive faces, sitting still. But after it was over, the fear that arose in the mind of these 7 was the same. In the hand of Salah Iskander was the garnet whose pin he took out. He spread devastation everywhere. The projector screen went dark. Salah closed his laptop and looked at his face after the public salutation of the salvo. I was wasting my time. So you don't want to work on this project? Michael's silent question confirmed Salah's concerns. I want the World Bank to finish this project in Congo. Salah also said without wasting time. You're kidding. It's a phobia for the World Bank to end a project that started in 2015 because a small official told him to sit down. They're projects that violate human rights in the Congo. Is delivering. She was Julia Potter, who said to the 7-year-old with a sly smile in the most ridiculous way, if I suffer from a phobia or I have a mental disorder, this disease may have afflicted millions of people living in these forests. At this time, Salah gave a Turkish answer. What are you in what capacity are you sitting in the Congo? As an employee of the World Bank or as a human rights activist? Congolese people or pygmies are not your headache. Your only priority should be to complete the project on time. This time it was Alexander Raphael who cut the conversation. He was one of the close aides of the president of the World Bank. You have read that contract. The terms and conditions you signed up for are dead. You are in breach of your contract. And the bank has full discretion to fire you. In return I have read my contract and also the World Bank Charter. They also did not say in the letter that I will have to do something that may violate the basic human rights and the laws of a country. If any such clause was included in my contract, please give me a reference. Alexander Raphael could not speak. For a few moments, he had a bull on his forehead and due to constant stress, he had turned into a permanent juror. And you consider yourself more capable than these logos because you started this project after years of research. He was asking her in a mocking manner. No. They are not edits. I am not edited. They are not fair. And I am. It is only about the integrity that has been observed while preparing the feasibility report. Otherwise it is impossible that the person preparing the feasibility report of the project is so blind and incompetent. I have not seen all that I have seen. And I am looking at millions of local people. The World Bank should do more investigation about this project by forming an inquiry committee. If this committee acted with integrity, they would not. All this will be observed that I am observing, said Salah, observing Raphael's catchy phrase. I think it is better to do something to end the aidlock which has arisen in Washington and your office in Gombe with regard to this project. The speaker was Bill Joels. You resign. As you offered in the presentation and the official letter and book with the bank, you cannot run this project in this way. He used to advise Alexander with great patience and communication. I have no objection to this option if the World Bank finds it suitable. I am also looking for a solution to this problem only with my resignation. But I will include all the numbers given in this presentation in the reasons for my resignation, and I will also write down my reservations, and I will make this resignation public. There was silence in the dark room for a few moments. They finally came to a point for which Salah was asked by Washington, which was stuck in the throat of the World Bank like a bone. There were only two tasks for the 7 people sitting in the room. Either Salah is agreed to run the project or he is quietly resigned for personal reasons. Now the problem became bigger than that. He not only wanted to write all this in his resignation, but also wanted to make it public. For the next 3 hours he was trying to convince the 7-year-old. He used every tactic. When he did not get the job done, he threatened some people to resign from the bank's contract. Maintain the confidentiality of all professional information brought to your knowledge during I am bound to keep and publicizing the resignation and bringing this report to the media could have taken legal action against him. And not only would he have to bear the long-term loss financially, but he would be deemed unfit to serve the future bank or any small or large institution affiliated with it. There was a big threat. As the pressure and threats increased, so would the opposition to Alexander. If Iskander Uthman said that no one could match him in battle, he was right. What do you want after 3 hours? Michael finally asked him with his weapon against him. A non-governmental inquiry team to re-evaluate the project. And after that, in the best interest of pygmies and these rainforests, this project should be terminated or some solution should be found which is acceptable to the people living in these forests and the local people. I am talking about people. We are not talking about local government. Salah repeated the same demands. In response, what is your price? Alexander saw Salah as unable to speak. There will be something for which you will withdraw from this demand. Tell us what it is that you will trade us for. Raphael continued the conversation. He said Salah started packing his things on the table. I am worthless and I joined the World Bank under the mistaken belief that I would be working with a logo known to the world for its professional expertise and competence. Are going if working with brokers, selling, buying and pricing, would be done in a stock exchange or investment banking in a bank. He slapped his shoe on his face in a soft tone. And the strength of this frame was felt by 7 people sitting together. In plain language, he used to say Dalal and he used to say right. None of the 7 said anything more, just as they started to take care of their papers and laptop. The meeting ended without any result, and Salah thought that his career in the World Bank was also over. That meeting was recreated like every other meeting in the headquarters. But Salah had no idea that the meeting was being held in another place. Salah's sack. Before leaving Rome, another strategy to deal with was implemented. Alexander Raphael followed Salah and wanted to talk to him separately for a few minutes. Salah hesitated but then agreed. What was not said in the meeting? It could and is being said. In Alexander Raphael's office, he expected to hear more of the same story. But Alexander Raphael's behavior in his office was surprisingly different. I don't think I've ever been more impressed by your report than the president. His very first sentence surprised the president. The president always expects a lot from you. Only you can carry the weight of your project for Africa. It is the smallest of the synchro projects that you have. You think it is a very big thing. Africa can be changed through you, and I can assure you that the president is very serious about Africa. They want to eradicate poverty and hunger from there. Ibaka is an ignorant man. He is playing in the hands of such people who are obstacles in the development of Africa. You didn't ask any questions. Raphael heard his silence. If he wanted to cheer up Salah by giving him words of praise about the president, he was failing. There was no change in Salah's attitude. It was whatever questions I have been raised in your report. I am glad that the president is impressed by my work in Africa and by this report. But I will be more happy when I get a positive response from the World Bank on this report. Asterisk. Whatever questions I have been raised in your report, I am glad that the president is impressed by my work in Africa and by this report. But I will be more happy when I get a positive response from the World Bank on this report. The bank wants to give you the position of vice president, and this is because of the personal interest of the president. And in this regard, the American government has also been discussed. Raphael talk like this, it is like revealing a big secret. There was no end to his disappointment when he found the face of the man 15 years younger than him sitting on the other side of the table, still unaffected by this news. And what do I have to do in return for this promise? Raphael did not expect to hear such blunt questions after such a long speech. The president wants your support on this project. Absolute and unconditional support. Raphael did not waste time in Abu Tamhido. I don't think he can. I have already expressed my opinion regarding this project. Honors and titles cannot change my stand. What more is there to say? Salah Iskander did not understand Raphael before this meeting and still considered him ignorant. Such a great honor was being served on a plate and he was turning it down. Pride was gone. If tactful means being unscrupulous and bad faith, then I would never want to have it in private. Wow. Salah. Jab World Bank. It was drizzling by the time he left the headquarters. He used to take a cab and go back to the same one, but he had come inside a few hours ago. After that, he was walking aimlessly on the road. He involuntarily took a deep breath. He considered himself the busiest person in the world until a few days ago, and now after a few hours he was the most idle person in the world. He had a strange quality of mind. There was nothing to do. No meetings, no agendas, no phone calls, no emails, no presentations. But there was a lot to think about. Did you think about it? What if they agree? From there he went back to the headquarters. Accept the offer that was just given. It is not difficult or impossible. Everything is in his hands now, even bigger than before in the World Bank. That's it. What would have been wrong if he would have calmed his conscience for a while? Congo is not his country. Pygmies are his people. Then, really, said Raphael, why was he doing all this for them, and doing all this he brought you here? The poverty and bad state that he saw, it was seen in the logo. She remembered those hopeful looks from which they saw her. Did she remember that pile of papers that said every single word that humanity was being humiliated there? She was a slave. Production was his religion 1400 years ago. It was over. And while remembering all this, Imam also remembered. He pulled out his cell phone from his pocket and tried to contact her. Without success. A strange sadness and loneliness overcame him. The speed of thinking was very fast. What was he thinking in a crisis? He shook every negative thought from his mind. Maybe it was due to mental pressure. He tried to calm himself down. Arriving in his hotel room, he put his laptop in his bag and turned on the TV as usual. A morning traffic in Washington on a local channel. The news of the incident was spreading. in which 2 passengers died on the spot, while the third one was in the hospital with serious injuries. Crash on screen scrolling. The details were released and the injured person was identified as Peter Ibaka, a revolutionary, and wanted to participate in a CNN program. Salah's mind was blown. Salah knew that he was in America from the Sun. He came to meet her before leaving for America and she told Salah that her friend finally accepted her participation in the news programs of the big news channels after a lot of efforts. Arrangements were made. It means that the face is going to fall on my neck, Salah said to him with a smile. If you criticize the World Bank and its officials regarding this project, I will take it into consideration first and will contact you through these channels for a response. Salah seemed to have an inkling of the predicament he was in after his interview with Petrus Ibaka. The volcano that had been brewing for a long time was about to explode. I will try my best to save you, Ibaka assured him. I will not criticize you, but praise you for your support. The project is already underway. Ibaka was extremely serious, but he knew with Salah himself that his belief was a good idea. Salah was leading the project. He went and came there. He was also going to face severe criticism from the media. You will soon report to the World Bank that you are unhappy with the project and your reason for leaving the position. It was said, I will definitely make an effort to get the bank to reconsider this project. He was the last link of the duo. The news channel reported that the condition of the child passenger was critical. He pulled out his phone and tried to find out where Ibaka was being taken. He went. It was a strange coincidence, but Ekadam was having problems with his phone connection some time ago, Imam, and still he was not able to make a local call. That line of effort didn't work either. Salah was surprised. He was staying in a 5-star hotel and his phone line was not working. He booked a call through the operator on the intercom. For almost half an hour, he waited for the operator to call. Salah felt as if he was being prevented from communicating with anyone. This time, instead of calling himself, he asked the receptionist to find out from the police inquiry about the injury from the traffic accident in Washington this morning. He was taken away. I told Salah the name of the hospital. Salah gave him the cell phone number of his home in Congo and his father's cell phone number. He wanted to call there the next day, but he could not be contacted. It was not difficult to find Peters at the hospital, but he was not allowed to see Ibaka. He was in a critical condition and was put on artificial respiration after his surgery. But the person on the reception looked at it with uncertainty and night. How was it possible for a pygmy and an Asian to be related? In the ICU of the hospital, Nalio, Taro and Patio, who did not recognize Ibaka at first sight. Salah does not know what to do. Iska and Ibaka's human relationship. It's just that, but still it's a strange tragedy in the situation. It is big. Then the old man thought once again whether he could still fix everything if he wanted to. Ibaka was dying and how he died. All the facts and evidences are pygmies that are going to disappear. Ko is not an immediate replacement for Ibaka. You could meet someone who could look into someone's eyes and say they're right in a domineering way, in the way that Ibaka used to say. Hit the whip of conscience used to rain on him once again. On his return to his hotel, another big accident was waiting for him. His locker was opened in his room and his passport and some other important documents were missing, and he was also missing were his laptop and all the evidence related to the report was copied. For a few moments, Salah was not sure if it was his room. He was extremely rude. He picked up the phone and immediately informed the manager of the incident with him, and he was asked to his room. When he comes to die, his mind is lost. It happened that the CCTV cameras of this floor were turned off 2 hours ago to carry out cleaning work on the entire floor. He was cut. Whatever he had, it was on his laptop and in his bag. A copy of it was with him and a copy of it was in the locker of the boss of his house, which was delivered by Imam. That was the first time Salah felt a strange feeling. Ibaka's injury in an accident no longer seemed to be a coincidence. He was at work on Monday just during it. The first thought that came to him at that time was the protection of the Imam and his children. Contact with them was necessary at any cost. He had to warn the Imam that he was the Pakistani ambassador with these documents, or go to a police station at least until as long as he himself does not reach there. He told the manager that he wanted to file a police report. It was certainly not the hotel's responsibility to protect his precious Chizo, but at least the hotel was showing such responsibility. In the absence of this, floor CCTV system can't be turned off. The manager apologized and immediately offered to compensate him for the loss and requested him not to implicate the police in the matter, but Salah was not in his right mind at the time. Yes, he did not come out of his room. Did he even come out of this hotel? From a phone booth, he once again tried to match the house and Imam's number in Congo, but the result was the same. She finally called Sikandar Usman in Pakistan, and when she heard his voice on the phone, for a while she was not sure if she was finally able to talk to anyone. Iskander also knew from his voice that he was worried. Without giving any details, Salah said that he had lost his travel documents and therefore he could not return immediately on the next flight, and he could not contact Imam. He said to Alexander, call Imam from Pakistan, and if contact is not possible, then contact him through your acquaintances in the Foreign Office through the Pakistan Embassy in Kinshasa and ask him immediately. Let the embassy leave with all the documents in the locker. Iskander Uthman Bari. Jokes. Why do you have to do all this? Salah is all right. Papa Askat. Do only what I am saying. I will tell you the details later. He was confused. I am asking you to call me for a long time. Don't call me on my phone. Take my message on my number. He urged the father more. Sir, you are disturbing me. It was necessary. Salah hung up the phone. He couldn't tell his father that his senses were getting worse this time. It was a pity he didn't want to bring his family to the Congo. And in these circumstances, the meeting was held in Baja. It was late at night and there was no call or text message on his cell since morning. The phone signals were shaky at best, but Salah was sure his phone and the source of the phone control the air connection what was being done. And for whom? He did not understand. If they wanted to harm him, they would harm him without any intervention. Like what happened to Ibaka. And if he had to be fired from the bank, he would have done it himself. Then why? It was like a sensation in the bone of his spine. He suddenly realized that people wanted to make him feel that he was being monitored and could be harmed. And this is also being told the World Bank couldn't do it. Not only the World Bank. The CIA was checking. They didn't know if the sweat was less when the body was cold or when it was hot. But Salah bathed in the water for a long time. His mind was completely blank at that time, and his angel would never have thought that he would ever be involved in such a matter. He is followed by her now. It was thought that the project was not the desire of the World Bank, but the desire of the United States, and it could go to any extent to reach completion. He stayed in Washington for 3 days, but after losing his travel documents, he was sure he would not return immediately. You can go from little to when those requirements are met. I didn't show any flexibility in what he was doing with them. 2 hours later, he called Iskander Osman again, and he told him that Imam and his children are not at home. The house is locked and there is no employee or attendant. The embassy officials contacted the Congolese Ministry of Interior in this regard, but whoever knew about his family could not immediately find out. It takes a lot of effort. The child he was listening to on the phone was enough to take the medicine in his body. Imam and his children could not go without asking him and informing him. Gara Bank provided it. How was it possible that he left the house even though it was locked? I am trying to get the embassy to arrange my visa immediately and go and see the whole thing myself. Iskander is trying to console him. You should also try to get there as soon as possible. Report his disappearance to the American embassy. You are an American national and so is your child. They will seek them more readily than our embassy. Iskander showed a path and showed it exactly right. But he could not tell the father at that time that he is as confused as the American government. Everything will be fixed. Don't worry. It's not so dark in the Congo that your family should disappear like this. Salah didn't have time to say anything. Phone booth. It took him only 5 minutes to walk from the phone booth back to the hotel, but those 5 minutes seemed like 5,000 years. Oh, and even more so on the head of his family. He was unable to control himself after closing the door of the hotel room. Locked the door from inside. He was driving like a madman with it, just like when he had been blocked by a tree on a dark night on Margall Road years ago. It was a feeling. It was felt more strongly because whatever was happening then was happening on him, and today whatever was happening on his wife and young children. The image of the problem is also Salah as he was hanging on the cross. Those people who wanted to kill his nerves were succeeding in it. If he wanted to see dark eyes, he was born with dark eyes. That night was very bad for Salah. He did not sleep even for a single moment. The faces of Imam, Jibril and Anaya kept rolling in front of his eyes. The next morning, he reached the headquarters of the World Bank long before office hours. Alexander Raphael saw Salah coming towards his room with great satisfaction. It wasn't the old man who came here yesterday. 1 day and 1 night would have washed him from the mountain. I have to meet the president. He came up with a sentence that Raphael was not expecting. She thought that he would tell her that he was ready to accept all her conditions. A meeting with the president. It is very difficult. It is not possible. At least in this month. Then why is this meeting necessary? Come to you. If you have to repeat it. All. What he said yesterday has reached him. Salah didn't understand what he said. He didn't want to cry in this World Bank office. But at the moment it seemed like he was going to cry at any moment. Will take my whole family is missing in Kinshasa, my wife, my son and my daughter. Controlling his tone, he began to say, looking into Raphael's eyes. Oh, I'm so sorry. You need to go back to Congo immediately, so that you can get your family with the help of the police. My passport and all my documents are lost. Everything disappeared from the hotel room yesterday and I can't go back to Kinshasa tomorrow. I need help from the quarter R for other documents and mine from the World Bank. Get your passport in the office for urgent documents. After listening to him quietly, Raphael told him very coldly, in these circumstances the World Bank cannot issue you a letter for a new passport because you are resigning today. Must visit and then go to the Congo. A visitor. For example, if you are an employee of the World Bank, we will go to any extent for your family, but now it is not our responsibility to protect them. American Embassy in Kinshasa contact or Pakistan Embassy. Are you originally from Pakistan? Salah took this sarcastic sentence like a sip of honey. Raphael's blunt denial added to his mental anguish. Never in his life had he hated any Western institution as much as he did the World Bank. He spent the best years of his life and health in the West, the United Nations and the rest of its institutions and the World Bank. Till yesterday it was coming there as a special estate, and today they are treating it like a beggar for whom the bank does not have any. Some moments are turning points in a person's life. All it takes is one moment. The first time Margot was scared to death on the wheel, she was forced from this way of life he was talking about the other day. After the fear of his child's death and the humiliation of his seniors at the World Bank, he decided to sit down. What he had been doing till now. Some fear. All fear is called. The same day happened to Salah. But Berta decided on this day that in the next 10 years, he will be bigger than the World Bank. The institution he will overturn the financial system of the world, which was dominated by the West. Any other issues you want to discuss? Raphael said to him, seemingly needlessly. No, he left without saying anything more. Raphael was left with a smile. He wanted to see him grow up for the life of his wife and child. Feel it. His mental balance was disturbed. Coming out of the headquarters building in this way, Salah himself felt as if his mental balance had been broken. Without doing anything there for come. He went there to compromise. He went with the intention of accepting their conditions to save his wife and child's life. But Raphael's behavior changed his mind. I will not ask for the life of my family from any of them. I will not be in front of any of them. Ares has given me honor and humiliation whenever my destiny is made by my own decisions. I will ask for glory from Allah. He went in as a mound of sand and came out as a firecracker. That was the moment when he put the life of Imam and his child at stake. The trap that was prepared to trap Salah Iskander escaped from it. And the Logos who prepared that trap did not know that Basat is going to turn. When they wanted to defeat him, they wanted to defeat them. And Allah is indeed the best of plans. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. That day brought great good news for the World Bank. Peter Ibaka died in a coma. Salah heard that news on TV after coming back from the bank. It was another blow for him. But that night was the darkest night for the World Bank. Before Ibaka died, the World Bank died. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The executive desk. He got up and went to the bar. His gaze followed that of Jackie. He looked away and took a sip of the orange juice in front of him. After a long time, he was sitting alone in a bar with a woman. To be continued.